The energy industry is certainly being targeted right now by a number of progressives on Capitol Hill. Bernie Sanders, who recognizes or thinks there's a cabal going on and that they're capitalizing off of all of this. Enter Ron Ness, the North Dakota Petroleum Council president. Tim Stewart with us as well, the U.S. Gas and Oil Association president. They're working with a group of 10 oil and gas trade groups to effectively say, look, administration, Congress, we want to work with you. I think I've got that right. And gentlemen, I want to welcome you both. But it's very hard to fight that, especially when you have the powers that be that don't want to take any of the blame themselves.
And in fact, they actually were accelerating the crisis. And I tell Senator Sanders, those enriching those investors, those are pension funds, and those are the small investors who've invested through mutual funds in the oil and gas industry. He needs to be careful about who he's worried about being enriching.
Yeah, you raise a very good point, and those are not fat cats at taking advantage of that. Ron, I'm curious as to how you work with an administration, though, that has already said we're not for opening up Keystone or even expanding domestic oil production, points the finger back at you guys to say there are a lot of unused contracts and leases on land, and if you were so hot to take advantage of that, you would, and you're not. What do you say?
Well, thanks, Neil, for having me today. This president could change the price of gas tomorrow if he would come to the podium and announce that his administration is changing direction. And this is a big, it's taken a long time to get here. We're not going to turn around overnight, but they can have an impact tomorrow if they change the direction of this country. It's fixable. We can make the cleanest barrel of oil in the world in North Dakota and the Bakken, and we can grow our production in America. And it's just that there's a constant diatribe, almost wanting energy prices to be high for the talking points you saw earlier from the Democratic Party.
So if environmental concerns were a paramount problem, that would never be an issue. But it is, and desperate times call for desperate measures. But the real strategy seems to be, and I'll pick up this point with you, Tim, just not to focus on fossil fuels at all. The push right now, because of these higher prices, to electric vehicles, which of course is good news for environmentalists because they want us off the stuff that you're touting. So how do you change minds, or can you?
Well, that's that is a challenge that we have in trying to help scope this narrative. And the reality is what they're proposing just isn't grounded in reality. Look, we want to meet them on common ground. That was the purpose of our message to the administration last week, is there's common ground which we can meet on. But the first thing you have to do is stop treating the U.S. oil and gas industry as if it is an enemy to the American people. For whatever reason, we're waiting on additional approval from the administration to get our infrastructure built. For an administration that's so emphasizes infrastructure so heavily, pipeline infrastructure is as important as any other road or bridge. They've got to stop sending nominees to Congress who are openly hostile to the industry.
So, Ron, Tim had mentioned that you guys have communicated with the White House. I don't know if that directly includes the president. What have you heard back? Because their actions seem to be speaking fairly loudly on this. They're not open to domestic production at all. There's nothing that seems to hint of that. So is this all a waste of time or what?
The state of North Dakota produces 1.1 million. It adds wealth, it adds to our economy, but more importantly, maybe in the geopolitical world, it truly helps our friends and allies across this world in this situation we're in with the Ukraine. It didn't take a rocket scientist to understand that demand was going to go up after we got out of COVID. Supply was going down because of all of the pressures to decrease American oil production.
I'm always wondering, those who advocate one energy over another, why can't you just be all in on everything? If you want to pursue green technologies and the wind and solar and all, have at it. But what do I know? You guys are the experts. Ron and Tim.